The latest, 3 hostages killed in California were women. Yountville, California. AP, the latest on an armed man at a veteran's home in Northern California, all times local. 7:55 p.m. The California Highway Patrol confirms a gunman and 3 women were found dead hours after he took them hostage inside a veteran's home in California. Chief Chris Childs says officers entered the room where the hostages were being around 6 p.m. Friday. He says they were all found dead inside a room in the veteran's home. Childs says a bomb-sniffing dog had alerted on the suspect's car but no bombs were found in the vehicle. He says there is no threat to public safety. A U.S. official had earlier confirmed the deaths to the Associated Press. 7:45 p.m. A U.S. official says a gunman and 3 hostages have been found dead after a shooting and standoff at a veteran's home in California. The official wasn't authorized to discuss the matter publicly and spoke to the Associated Press Friday on condition of anonymity. Authorities said earlier Friday evening that they hadn't had contact with the gunman for nearly 8 hours since he slipped into an employee going-away party at the largest veterans' home in the United States. 6:10 p.m. Authorities have not had contact with the gunman holding 3 people hostage for nearly 8 hours and police tactical teams are forming plans on how to deal with the ongoing situation at a veterans' home in California. California Highway Patrol spokesman Sergeant Robert Knack told reporters that there has not been any confirmed communication with the gunman since 10:30 in the morning. Knack called the situation at the veterans' home dynamic and active and said he had no information about the hostages or their conditions. He says tactical teams are deciding which way to move forward. Officials said those being held are employees of the Pathway Home, a privately run program on the veterans' home's grounds. 5:45 p.m. Officers at the scene of a California veterans' home where a man is holding 3 people hostage say they have had no contact with the gunman since shots were fired around 10:20 a.m. California Highway Patrol spokesman Sergeant Robert Knack said he knows of no contact Friday with the gunman or the people who were holed up with him at the veterans' home in Yountville. Police wearing fatigues have surrounded the building, and officials said earlier that 3 hostage negotiation teams were at the scene to talk with the gunman. Officials said those being held are employees of the Pathway Home, a privately run program on the veterans' home's grounds. The program treats veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars with post-traumatic stress disorder. 5:30 p.m. A resident of a veterans' home in California's wine country says more than a dozen armed troops have marched into the building where a gunman is holding 3 people hostage. Brian Goder had been locked down in the main dining room of the veterans' home of California Yountville for hours. Authorities say they're trying to negotiate with a gunman whose hostages are employees of the Pathway Home, a privately run program on the veterans' home's grounds. The program treats veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars with post-traumatic stress disorder. Goder says the program treats veterans who have more troubles than others. He posted videos on Facebook of the police wearing fatigues marching into the building around 3 p.m. It wasn't clear what agency they were from. 3 p.m. An Army veteran says he has sent out alerts for residents of the largest veterans' home in the U.S. to stay in place after a gunman took 3 people hostage. Bob Sloan says he was working at the California facility's resident-run TV station when a coworker came in Friday morning and said he had just heard 4 gunshots coming from the nearby Pathway Home, a privately run program for veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder on the grounds. Sloan, a retired police officer, says residents are getting concerned because the situation has been going on so long. He says he can see officers with long-barrel assault-type weapons crouching around the building and some taking cover behind trees. Sloan says he sent out a red banner on in-house TV that read, "Emergency notice. This is an active situation, ongoing." 2:35 p.m. California authorities say some students rehearsing a play on the grounds of the largest veterans home in the U.S. had been locked down when a gunman took hostages. But Napa County Sheriff John Robertson told reporters that about 80 students were near the area where the hostages were taken but were never in danger. Teenagers from Justin Siena High School who had been rehearsing in the theater drove themselves out in a line of cars Friday afternoon. Sasha Craig spotted a family car carrying her 15 and 17-year-old children. She ran toward it, blowing kisses. She says teens had been texting their parents to chill. 2:30 p.m. California authorities say they've been trying to contact the gunman holding 3 Veterans Program employees hostage at the largest veterans home in the U.S. Napa County Sheriff John Robertson told reporters that authorities have been trying to reach him on his cell phone and other nearby phones since Friday morning. He says officials know who the gunman is but weren't releasing his name and didn't know what his motive was. Robertson says the gunman released some hostages and kept the 3. California Highway Patrol Assistant Chief Chris Childs says those still being held are employees of the Pathway Home, a privately run program on the Veterans Home's grounds. The program treats veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars with post-traumatic stress disorder. Childs says the gun is a rifle, but he's not sure of the type. 2:20 p.m. California authorities say officers exchanged gunfire with a gunman holding 3 Veterans Program employees hostage at the largest veterans home in the U.S. Napa County Sheriff John Robertson told reporters Friday that many bullets were fired but that the deputies weren't injured. He says he doesn't know the status of the hostages or the gunman's motive. California Highway Patrol Assistant Chief Chris Childs says they haven't made contact with a gunman who's confined to one room but that hostage negotiators are standing by. He says the hostages are employees of the Pathway Home, a privately run program on the Veterans Home's grounds. The program treats veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars with post-traumatic stress disorder. 1:30 p.m. Jan Thornton of Vallejo is among hundreds of relatives worried about their loved ones at a Northern California veterans home that was locked down after reports of an active shooter. Thornton says her 96-year-old father, a World War II fighter pilot, is inside a hospital wing at the home in Yountville, north of San Francisco. Thornton says she's still shaking and that she hasn't been able to talk to her father. But, she says she was able to talk to one of his friends, who is also locked down, and that he told her that her father is safe. She says her heart just bleeds for the people that are being held hostage. Though she thinks her dad is safe, she is still worried about the stress of the situation, considering his age and that he has post-traumatic stress disorder and some dementia. 1 p.m. A man says a gunman quietly came into a going-away party and staff meeting at a Northern California veterans home and let some leave, while keeping others hostage. Larry Kamer says his wife, Devereaux Smith, is a fundraiser for the nonprofit Pathway Home. She was at the party Friday morning of 10 to 15 people at the Yountville Veterans Home. Pathway Home's program treats veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars with post-traumatic stress disorder. Kamer says his wife is now inside the home's dining hall and is not allowed to leave. He spoke to her by phone. He does not know if the shooter was a veteran receiving treatment from the home. Napa County Fire Captain Chase Beckman said earlier that the gunman took at least 3 people hostage. Kamer said he does not know why the shooter let his wife and some colleagues leave. 12 p.m. A fire official says no injured people have been treated at a California veterans home where at least 3 people have been taken hostage. Napa County Fire Captain Chase Beckman says dispatch received a call Friday morning about an armed man on the grounds. An armored police vehicle, ambulances and several fire trucks could be seen at the scene. California Highway Patrol Officer John Franson confirms that there is an active shooter at the veterans home in Yountville, north of San Francisco. He tells KTVU-TV the property of the large veterans home was evacuated after a man with a gun was reported on the grounds. He says officers are working to establish a secure perimeter around the facility and make sure others are safe. The Yountville facility is the largest veterans home in the United States, with about 1,000 residents. Yountville is in Napa Valley, the heart of Northern California's wine country. 11:36 a.m. Napa County Fire Captain Chase Beckman says a gunman has taken hostages at a veterans home in California. Police closed access to the large veterans home in Yountville after a man with a gun was reported on the grounds. The Napa County Sheriff's Department issued an alert to residents at 10:30 a.m. Friday warning them to avoid the area because of activity at the veterans home in Yountville. The Napa Valley Register reported that a man wearing body armor and armed with an automatic weapon entered the home. The Sheriff's Department did not immediately respond to a telephone call from the Associated Press. The State Veterans Affairs Department says it is the largest veterans home in the United States, with about 1,000 residents.